Tuesday night, 9:40. You're 20 minutes from home, so you call the house. Your oldest picks up on the first ring. He always picks up on the first ring. The little one is bathed. Your middle one finished her math. Dinner is put away, and the kitchen light is already off. He handled all of it, and he's 14. You hang up and feel two things at once: pride and a splinter you can't name. Everyone has a word for this kid. Teachers say mature. Grandparents say little man. And the internet has a full diagnosis: oldest child syndrome. Bossy, perfectionist, anxious. The overachiever who can't sit still inside his own life. Type it into a search bar at 1 in the morning and the verdict is waiting for you. Your firstborn is just built that way. Born first, wired different. Every family with more than one kid knows a version of this child. Piano families know him, soccer families know him. He's the one who counts heads at the pool, who signs the field trip form, who runs the show when no adult is looking. So here is the promise of the next 8 minutes. You're going to see exactly what 14 years of being first actually did to your son, and the one move that undoes the harmful half without touching the good half. Because the pattern in your son is real. The birth order explanation is a myth. Start with the first crack. In 2015, researchers Rohrer, Egloff, and Schmukle tested birth order against personality in 20,000 adults across 3 countries. A companion study tracked 377,000 students. The verdict was flat. Birth order writes almost nothing into personality. Firstborns are not born more responsible. The slot is empty. Therefore, you have a mystery on your hands. If the slot is empty, why does your oldest fit the description so perfectly? Why is he the responsible one, the tense one, the one who picks up on the first ring? Because something real is happening in your house. It just isn't birth order. Rewind 14 years and you can watch it start. Picture the week you brought him home. You checked his breathing while he slept. You washed things that were already clean. You kept a notebook of feeding times, down to the minute. Every cough was an emergency with a search bar attached. You weren't broken. You were new. And new can be measured. In 2016, at Miami University, psychologists Kalomiris and Kiel brought 117 mothers and their 2-year-olds into a lab and set the toddlers in front of unfamiliar, slightly scary things. First-time mothers didn't just say they worried more. Their bodies confessed. Cortisol, the stress hormone, spiked while they watched their first child face something new. And the worry became behavior. More hovering, more shielding, more stepping in. Labs keep finding the same shape, study after study. So the first child gets the rookie version of you. Vigilant, careful, close. The last child gets the veteran. Relaxed, roomy, sure. There was a notebook for him. There was no notebook for the third. Same parents, same love, different parent. But the watching is only half of what a firstborn inherits. The other half arrived the day you stopped being new. The day you carried the second baby through the front door. Your oldest got a promotion nobody announced. Listen to your own sentences from that year. Show her how it's done. You're the example now. I need you to be big for me. That was also the year of the key, 4th grade. The first kid in his class with a house key, worn on a lanyard like a medal, because someone had to let the little ones in. You were proud, he was proud. Neither of you read the fine print. The key wasn't a gift, it was a job. And what about the rules? Were they ever the same rules his siblings got? In 2015, economists V. Joseph Hotz at Duke and Juan Pantano at Washington University dug into the National Longitudinal Survey of Youth, thousands of American families tracked across decades, and found what parents rarely say out loud. The firstborn gets the strictest version of everything, the tightest limits, the earliest curfews. And when parents were asked what they would do about a bad report card, they admitted it. Punish the oldest and let the same grade slide for a younger one. The researchers called it strategic parenting. Punishing your first is never only about him. It's a broadcast to the audience, the little ones watching from the doorway. The firstborn is where a parent builds a reputation. He isn't just raised, he's raised as the example. Now read that from his side of the table. Same grade, different consequence. Not because of who he is, because of when he arrived. So there is your syndrome. It was never inside him. It was the version of you that met him, the anxious rookie, plus the job he was handed the day he stopped being the only one. Which brings us to last month, and the small things you've started to notice. He corrects your daughter's homework with a red pen. You never bought a red pen. At his cousin's birthday party, the other kids played, and he supervised, standing at the edge of the bounce house, like a lifeguard on duty. He can't sit through a movie without checking the time, as if the house might need him. When you tell him to just relax, he looks at you like you're speaking a language he used to know. His teachers call him a joy. His friends call him less and less, because a kid who is always on call doesn't leave much room for a kid who can just come out. And one night, quiet, no drama, he says, "I'll do it. I always do it." Science has a name for the far end of this road: parentification. A child doing a parent's job, not chores. Chores are fine. Chores are training for a life. Parentification is when the child becomes staff. In 2024, the journal Psychological Bulletin published a meta-analysis by Thompson, Platts, and Davies at Auburn University, pulling together 478 studies on what happens when the line between parent and child dissolves. One pattern is called caregiving, the child supplying the steadiness, the managing, the emotional support that adults are supposed to supply. Across the research, that pattern travels with anxiety turned inward and trouble turned outward. Stretched far enough so mature stops being a compliment. It becomes a bill that hasn't come due yet. And a 2025 meta-analysis on parental favoritism found the matching tilt from the other side. Older siblings are exactly the ones who carry the weight of rules and responsibility. The middle child feels unseen. The oldest feels used. Two ends of one machine. But be careful here, because the research does not say responsibility is poison. It says something far more useful. Here is the finding that changes what you do tomorrow. Across the parentification studies, the damage doesn't track with the amount of responsibility. It tracks with how the child reads it. Kids who saw their load as fair, seen, and bounded, many of them grew from it. Real confidence, real competence, the kind of leadership teachers write home about. Kids who read the load as invisible, endless, and unchosen, they're the ones who carry it into adulthood as resentment with a heartbeat. We've met this rule before in the favoritism research. Different is fine, unexplained is not. The rule extends one door over. Responsibility is fine. Unnamed responsibility is not. Therefore, the fix was never to stop asking for help. It's 3 moves, and this week, you make all 3. Tuesday, dinner table. You name the job out loud. You run half this house some nights. That's real work, and I see all of it. Not praise for being mature. Thanks for a named job. He shrugs like it's nothing. He also sits a little taller for the rest of the meal. Wednesday, you put an edge on the job. Bath time for the little one goes back to you. Your oldest gets his evening handed back like a paycheck. He doesn't know what to do with it at first. That's the point. And Thursday. Thursday is his. At the dojang, he lines up with the other students and bows, one white uniform in a row of them. For 1 hour, he is not anyone's second parent. Nobody needs him. He isn't the example. There's a black belt at the front of the room for that. He's a beginner, allowed to be corrected, allowed to be clumsy, allowed to be 14. You watch from the lobby and realize this might be the only hour in his week where the job can't find him. So you start protecting that hour, like a doctor's appointment, because it is one. 2 weeks pass. He still checks the time during movies. Old habits get a vote, but the red pen stays in the drawer more nights than not. And one evening, you call from the road, and he picks up on the first ring and asks if he can call you back because he's in the middle of a game with his sister. You smile at the steering wheel the whole way home. That's the sound of a kid going off duty. So remember what is actually true. Birth order never wrote your oldest story. Your parenting did, one rule at a time. Responsibility builds a kid only when it is named, thanked, and bounded. And the most mature child in the house is often the one most in need of permission to be a child. Tuesday night, 9:40. The key sits in the bowl by the door, and the boy who owns it is just a boy tonight. What if so mature was never a description of your child, but a description of his job?